Hello, my name is Brock Lazier. I'm a teacher at Somerset Area School District. I teach third grade ELA. I teach two different sections. One is a co-taught classroom that's a mix of students with IEPs, special ed students, and regular ed students. And then I teach another group of ELA students that are all regular ed, higher group. And I teach them in two separate parts of the day. A lot of what I talk about in this is going to be really applicable for my morning class, my co-taught class, but it's also important for my high group as well. I was a student at Somerset Area School District, and when I graduated, I went to get a degree in early childhood education from Waynesburg University. I graduated and I got my job teaching, and now I'm in my master's program at Grand Canyon University for curriculum and instruction. I'm also a coach. I'm one of the high school football coaches. I coach the rifle team and the junior high track team. And I'm also the board president of a nonprofit that's based out of Somerset. And we work on getting kids outdoors and learning some skills that will help them in the outdoors with hiking, climbing, mountain biking, camping. And a lot of these differentiation and engagement skills work really well for those students that I coach and I engage with outside of the classroom as well. So today we're going to talk about differentiation and engagement, what they are, why they are important, and how we can use them in the classroom and outside of the classroom as a district. So what is differentiation? It's adjusting materials and pace based on need. So my morning class is at a very different place in the year as my afternoon class. And that's by design. That morning group needs more time to work on certain topics. And sometimes we have to go back and work on things from a first and second grade level that those students didn't retain from the last 2 years. It's not that their teacher didn't do a good job, but they retain information differently. And some of that information might have got lost. And before we try to move ahead and learn something new, we have to make sure they have the background knowledge in place. So differentiating is important in that aspect. We have to personalize lessons. A lot of those students really don't have a positive outlook on education. They've been told that they are struggling, they have an IEP, sometimes they hear at home that they're not good enough. So it's really important to create an environment where students can succeed and where they feel welcome and where they will have a good time in class and really want to engage with learning. And it's important, like I said, to scaffold the learning and make sure that they have the background knowledge that they need before we move on to another lesson. Not all students learn the same way. So we have to have activities where we get up and move around the classroom. We have to have activities where we use music and arts and really using different methods of teaching so that students are able to learn in their own way. Not everybody's brain works the same way. So Howard Gardner's theory of multiple intelligences says that we should be using those different methods of differentiation for our students. And it increases engagement, which is the goal to get students to want to learn and engage. So there's some different strategies that we can use for differentiation. And I've talked about a couple like scaffolding. Mind mapping, like I have on the screen here, it's whenever they have this idea and they connect it to other ideas of background knowledge to really find why what they're working on is important and have a little more care about what they're working on because it's connected to these other ideas. Feedback loops, communicating with students right after something occurs, and having them really understand what occurred so that they get that immediate feedback. And a lot of technology pushes immediate feedback. Even our tests that we take right now, they get immediate feedback. It tells them what they got wrong and why they got it wrong. I have little notes when they pick the wrong answer that will tell them why that was the wrong answer, and I can walk through it with them that way. Chunking information, instead of trying to throw abstract nouns, proper nouns, pronouns all in the same day, we chunk that up over periods. First, we work on nouns, then we'll work on concrete nouns, abstract nouns, and we'll work our way up to proper and pronouns. And by chunking it into those little sections, we can really break it down into tangible things and easy things for those students to work on. And sensory stations, getting kids to use their senses when they're working on something. Different topics are easier than other topics. For concrete and abstract nouns, you can do activities where there's like cards set out and they have to either act out the card or they have to find that card around the room. And some things like bravery, we can't find that around the room. That's because it's an abstract noun. So they have to act that out. Just some different activities to get them up and moving around. And getting them up and moving around really helps with this next part that we're going to talk about, engagement. Engagement is when students aren't just sitting and listening to what you're saying, but they're actually engaged and they want to be a part of that learning process. So utilizing structures of the brain to activate engagement is super, super important. We want students to be excited to learn. We want them to be engaged in the lesson. Now, there's some different chemicals that the brain releases that we want and one that we don't want. So we want the classroom environment to provide serotonin. We want them to be relaxed. We want them to enjoy being in the classroom, have a positive outlook, and that'll really help them feel like it's a place where they can learn without being stressed. We want safe peer interactions. We don't want cortisol. We don't want them to feel like they're boxed in and they're stressed. That's not a helpful thing to have in the brain when you're trying to learn. So it's important to have rules set out at the beginning of the year for peer interactions as well. Celebrating success is super important. Have the students understand when they do a really good job and celebrate that with them and release some of that dopamine that gives them a little bit of, I want to come back, I want to learn more. And we talked about movement, moving around the room, some of those sensory stations as part of differentiation. It helps with engagement as well, get them excited. So there's some strategies you can use to engage students in the classroom and some that I use. So making students active participants in routines. When we come in the morning, have students do jobs. Hey, you're going to write what we do for lunch on the board, or you're going to write the date on the board. Instead of me doing everything, have them feel like they're a part of the classroom. Transparent teaching, explaining why it's important. So not just throwing information at them and saying, you need to learn it because I said so, but talking about how that applies to real life and why they need to learn it. One strategy is to have students congratulate another peer after checking their paper. So, hey, John, can you talk to Fred and can you check what he has on his paper? If it's this, then I want you to congratulate him and celebrate. Something that just gets him excited and has that nice solid peer interaction that we're looking for. And also using gross motor activities, getting up, stretching, acting things out, using our body for learning. And here are some resources that I have. Thank you very much for listening to my presentation. Have a nice day.